couple minutes for people to come on in. Let me get a little sip of my coffee. Let the live stream kick in so I can start seeing if there's any comments. Probably be one of these where I just cook by myself tonight. But Cynthia said she was coming in, so we'll see if see who shows up. Get a little better here to the big old hunk of pork, because that's what we'll be doing tonight. We'll be doing a quick pork roast, and pork roast is pretty easy. So I've got the oven warming up, I've got the cast iron warming up. I'm just going to use a Lodge Dutch oven. I figured I'd been using the enamelware quite a bit, so we're going to go ahead and just going to use a regular Dutch oven tonight. And that is one thing lacking in my collection, is vintage Dutch ovens, because all the vintage Dutch ovens that I have, are kind of, I don't use them because they're pretty rare, so I don't much use them. I do have a pheasant. I do have a Lodge pheasant that I use a little bit, but it's one with it's a camp stove, so it's got the 3 legs, so it doesn't always fit in my oven very well. So we're just gonna go. I've got a Lodge 5-quart Dutch oven heating up in there, and it's at 425 because that's what we're gonna go to. And I'm thinking I'm gonna bump it up to. We're gonna go to 450 on that, which isn't gonna take long to get to. We're gonna go to 450 on that. Hello, Cynthia Wesley. How are you, ma'am? Mercy B, thanks for showing in. So we've got a few people showing up. That's pretty cool for a Thursday night. And I try to do these a little bit earlier. I know Luis on his time is 6 o'clock, but here in the Northeast, it is the Great Lake regions where I'm at. It is a few hours behind him, so I try to keep mine to about an hour and 15, 20 minutes, unless I do just sort of a random live that I've done a couple times. But I try to give him a little bit of room and people a chance to go from my little time slot here to his, because he's been doing this a long time, for a while anyway. But yeah, so tonight we're just gonna do, I wanted to do a taco meat. That's what I said last week that I thought I was going to be able to do, but in all reality, we did tacos on Friday night, and I made a massive amount of taco meat, and we've been munching on taco meat off and on for the past few days till about Tuesday. It was in the refrigerator, so everybody was tacoed out. So we're just going to do something real quick. We're going to do just a traditional meal tonight. We're going to do a pork loin roast with peas and mashed potatoes. And I'm pretty excited about the mashed potatoes because my daughter's recipe for mashed potatoes is phenomenal. And it's really super easy. I've got the potatoes cut up and ready to start boiling. And once I put the pork roast in, I will start the potatoes and the peas. This is real simple stuff. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Descoware that I'm going to use to do the peas in. And I've even got, for Cynthia Wesley tonight, I'm using my Tefal to boil potatoes in, because I do not have a huge, cool vintage aluminum pan or anything like that to use. So I just use my 2.5-quart Tefal. But I love this Tefal. I've had this particular one for a lot of years. It's got a super thick base, and it works out great. Oh, Cast Iron Case is in there. Hey, thanks for showing up, buddy. Appreciate it. But enough of all that. But what I've got here is I've got a 3-pound pork loin, and let me throw my gloves on here real quick. Now, a lot of times, if I was going to do this, just roast the pork loin. There, we fit 450. If I was going to just do the pork roast, what I would do is I would trim off this back layer of fat down to sort of almost, I just skin it. I trim it from about about the part where it gets thick through here in the middle, and I would go from there. But tonight I'm going to try and do, after this is done roasting, I want to do a brown gravy, pork gravy to go along with it. Normally I would cut this part off. I would just basically skim it down to about right there. But what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to score it off. I'm going to score it because I want the fat. I want the fat for the gravy. So that's the one thing that that's one thing that normally I would do, but I'm not going to do today. So I'm just going to take and score this along the top in the bowl. We're just going to score that in there. I think I'm going to get a different knife. I want a smaller knife to get in this thing. I'm going to set this off to the side. Let me get my little paring knife, one of my paring knives here, and we'll just score that over. Score that down across there and across there. I'm not going to go into the meat. I don't need to go into the meat. There's no real reason for that. Plus it's got some processing lines on the bottom because I just got this from the butcher today, and it was just processed this morning. So this is pretty darn fresh pork. It was probably stopped at the red light this morning when I got started. I probably passed it on my way to work before it hit the processor today. So we're just going to score that up a little bit. If you can see that. Doesn't have to be anything amazing, just a little bit on the top so I can get our, there, pull it up a little bit. I'm not worried about cutting my fingers like that. There we go. Score it down. And then that way I've got that extra fat to render for the gravy. And I've also had this sitting out about a half an hour. I patted it dry, and then I'm going to add the seasoning now, and then we'll pull out the Dutch oven. We'll put a trivet in the bottom. Normally I'd use one of the Lodge trivets or something along those lines. Let me move my coffee out of the way. Let me move my coffee here real quick. But we're just gonna sprinkle this. I have garlic powder, a little touch of salt. I've got 2 tablespoons. I've got 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. I've got a tablespoon of coarse black pepper. I've got a half teaspoon of salt and a pinch of paprika, just to kind of give it some color, bring out the other flavors. And I'm just going to pat that on there real quick and start giving that a nice, let's rub that around. Oh yeah, we're gonna oil that real quick. Let me oil that up. Drop a little bit of olive oil on there. We are going to do a little olive oil on this. I'm going to swish that around. That'll re-stick. I got plenty of this. And just rub that olive oil around there. And you can see the processing marks from this morning. Here's at the butcher. That was their doing, not mine. Right in through there. And we'll get the oil on both sides. That in there. And then we'll just glove up again. I'm going to glove up again because I don't like handling pork barehanded, especially if I'm going to have my hands in other stuff. And just start coating this. And this is the thing that's nice about these traditional meals, is there's nothing hard about it. Anybody can do it. I'm just going to kind of stir that around a little bit. Rub that on. A nice rub through there. And then we'll just give it a nice bit through the back. And this is going to help to flavor the gravy a little bit too. Which I always say, one of the things I like, one of the reasons I wanted to do a gravy, not just because I really wanted gravy, but gravy is my way of cleaning my pan. Making gravy, though it's not everybody's thing, is the easiest way to clean cast iron pan. especially if it's in there cooking at high temperature and then you get all the bits and everything else in there. There's that, sides and the edges and everything. It's all ready to go. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to unglove. Yeah, that looks pretty. I think that looks beautiful. I think that's really nice looking. What seasoning is this? That is 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, a teaspoon of black pepper, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a little bit of paprika. And that's all there is to it. And I coated it in olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. So I'm going to move this over here, and I'm going to grab some oven mitts. And one thing I was going to show you, I'm going to be doing this. I'm not using a Lodge lid. I'm going to use a unmarked Wagner lid. And the unmarked Wagner lids fit a lot of Lodge stuff. They're pretty, what's the word I want to say? They can be used in process with any of these other things. And one of the things I wanted to show people, I don't know if we can really pick it up. I'll try and get it up to the camera. But when you're looking for, if you want to find an unmarked Wagner in the wild, one of the things you want to look for on the lid is it says it's made in the USA, for one. And the other thing is there's a C number right before that. Now, I'm not sure how far back the made in the USA stamp on the glass piece goes, but the C mark goes back as far back as they started using glass lids. It'll say anything from a C5, C-5, a C-6, C-8, C-10, C-12. And so if it's not marked, a lot of times they have a Wagner stamp. I have a couple that have the Wagner stamp on them. But this one came with, this is one from probably the 70s when they were on the Dutch ovens. I bought this one separately. I actually just found this at an antique store. But the C8, the C number with the dash number, that's the way to tell that you've got a Wagner lid, even though it's not marked Wagner. So there's a little tidbit. I'm going to move that stuff out of the way, and I'm going to swing this over here. I'm going to get the oven mitts, and we're going to drop a trivet into the Dutch oven. We're going to throw a little oil in the bottom of that, and I'm going to try and add a little bit of oil to the outside or the inside of the Dutch oven to kind of keep it from rusting up where there's nothing really there. Just drop my oven mitt. All right. But I'll get that going, and then we'll swing you guys around. Let's see here. So like I said, I preheated the oven. I've got it at 450. And I've got it at 450. I'm going to actually drop it down. This is super steamy. It's smoking hot. So we're going to drop that back down to 425, because we're going to leave that at 425, and then we're going to drop it down to 365 after that. So we're swinging over here just a little bit and give you a shot of that. And then I'm going to drop my trivet in there. After I'm going to grab my trivet, we're going to throw just a little bit more of the olive oil in there to the bottom. And I'm going to get a paper towel. Get a paper towel and wipe that around. That way I don't get, I thought about getting some, I wish I had some Pam or something like that. I don't like using Pam on my stuff, but just to spray it on the inside of that this time. So we're just going to wipe that on the inside to keep it from rusting up from the moisture, because it's not like a soup or anything else. It's just going to have a lot of space in there, and it's just going to be a lot of steam for the first part. Now normally I would use like a Lodge trivet or another kind of like a regular round cast iron, one of these that I have right over here. Normally I would use something like this, but I'm gonna want to try and get it out to make the gravy. So I don't want to try and fish it out with gloves and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just using a real simple trivet in there, just a little stainless steel trivet. Let me put that back. Let me stick that back where I got it. You better hear me clanging around in there. Let me get my gloves. And we'll get that going in there. That's the other reason I went to 450 is I knew that I'd have like a cool off moment to kind of talk for a second. I'm trying to compensate for having to talk. So throw that in there with the fat side up so that drains down there. I'm gonna get the rest of that in there, rest of the rub on there, and throw it on. Because I want all that flavor for in the gravy. And then we're gonna throw that Wagner lid on here. Wagner lid that fits perfectly on there. This fits perfect. I just like how interchangeable, that's the word I was looking for, interchangeable. As soon as I start doing a live, I lose my words. I lose all my nouns. So let me throw this in there. Hot, be careful. Put that on the center rack. And we're gonna go 25 minutes. I think I'm just gonna stay at 450. I like the way that sounds. 450. So we're gonna go 450 for the first 20 minutes. And that way it'll start heating the oven up too. The oven will, it'll kick the fire in down below it, and we'll just set that timer for 25 minutes. Now we're going for temperature and not the amount of time that we're doing it. Let me get this out of the way, because we're going to start with, I've already got my potatoes done. I don't know if that was a fatal flaw in tonight, so there might be some lag. I hope there's no lag in there, but get the potatoes going, and I'll start. My daughter said, well, she said to start the heat slowly on here and let these get fork tender, which is what we're going to do. We're going to let these get fork tender. We're going to start them out at about 6 and let these go. I don't have anything in here other than filtered water, and we're going to get that going. So we should be good there. And then I've got, just like I said, this is a real easy weeknight meal. I was going to do taco meat, but we had tacos all week. Taco this, taco that. And then I'm going to do some peas. I've just got those kind of sitting in the background and some Descoware. And I was doing a little deep dive on the Descoware back here, and I've been sort of on a deep dive with going on a Julia Child rabbit hole the past couple weeks. Been watching the old PBS episodes of Julia Child, and I didn't realize I always thought that she used Le Creuset, but she actually used a lot of Descoware. That was sort of her go-to thing that she used. And the stuff that's in the Smithsonian is Descoware for the most part. There is some Le Creuset, but it's generally she used Descoware. And one of the reasons that she used Descoware so much is that it's lighter. And I didn't realize how much lighter that Descoware was as opposed to Le Creuset. And somebody who only has a couple Le Creuset pieces, I didn't have a lot to, I don't have a lot of experience with Descoware. So I'm just sort of going by what they say. But I know this little number 3, which would be, this is an 18. I don't know if you can see that very well, but they list all their stuff on the inside. And that's their sizes. I guess it's a centimeter size, maybe. I don't know. I don't know much about Belgium, but the thing that I found really interesting with the Descoware is it started out as what was called Brexelware, which was a French company that made them. And then sometime in the 1940s, after World War II, that was bought by another gentleman, a Belgian guy, and he bought it from Brexelware was owned by General Housewares. Well, we all know that General Housewares brought they were the ones that bought Wagner in '57 from the Wagner group. So it's kind of funny that Descoware was bought to become Descoware from General Housewares, as to where General Housewares is the company that bought up Wagnerware. And so it's kind of an interesting twist if you're a cast iron nerd like a lot of us are. And I just simply love this. I love this thing. I've always really liked. I want to get more Descoware. It's really pretty. I hope it doesn't really show up too well on here, but yeah, it's it's so neat, and they have such cool the designs from the 50s when they did it. And the thing was is they bought it in the 40s, and then after they bought it, they started having the cast done like a lot of companies do. Le Creuset still does it, Lodge does it, but they sent this to Asia. Now these are Japanese. The pans themselves, the cast iron and the forging was all done in Japan after the war, and then they were sent to Brussels, and then they would be enameled there. So the enamel process is Belgian. This is a Belgian enamelware via by way of Japan. So I guess it all kinds of end up, when we talk about Asian cast iron, then we all know that everybody says don't use it. But if you use enamelware, 9 times out of 10, it's probably got some sort of an Asian background to it. But I simply love it, and their designs. They had a yellow that was so pretty. They have a coffee brown, and I think they call it earth brown, actually, and that's a really rare one. So if you come across the earth brown in the Descoware, that's really rare to get. The brown's really rare to get. The yellow, and they have such fun designs. The designs are really bright, and they came in sort of they came in what was called a citron, and then they had the flame, which is this one. I call my Ace Frehley one because it looks like Ace Frehley's guitar from Kiss. That's a childhood memory of mine. And then they had those different designs, and they were so neat. And they did teapots, enameled ware teapots. They did just all kinds of stuff. They did all kinds of things. So we got the potatoes going. Let's see. Let me get to the comments here for a second, and see who else. If we got him in. Val's here. Hey, Val, what's going on? Yeah, thanks. Yeah, put a like on it. If you're here, put a like on it. Hit some subscribe buttons. Hit some ding dong bells, as Kent Rollins says, so you know when we're going live. I kind of like this Thursday slot because Thursday is one of those days where I'm sort of home all day doing things like laundry and just kind of being my domesticated self. And so at the end of the day, at 7 o'clock, I kind of have dinner ready. That's sort of when we eat anyway. And it kind of livens up my menu. I really wish we would have done. The taco meat. The taco meats. I can't wait to do that. I think we'll do that. We might do that next week. I might do that or a meatloaf, one or the other. So let's see who all we got in here. RT Scott. Hey, thanks for showing up. And let me see who else. William Hurt. Thanks for showing up. William's one of our regulars too. I love seeing him in there. I love seeing all you guys in the comment sections. You guys, that's the reason that I started watching YouTube live streams. Just as much for the people that I watch. It's always fun to interact with the people in the comment section as well. Get these potatoes going. This will start rolling here pretty quick. Sorry to just give you a picture of this. But let me see here what all we got going on. And once these are in, these are gonna get, the potatoes, we're gonna get these to be fork tender. That's the idea behind this. And so this has never been one of my fortes. These are things that I'm sort of conquering new. A lot of people, it seems like the complicated stuff I've never had trouble with, but the little things like making gravy and mashed potatoes has just never been my thing. I make a lot of really interesting dishes, but those kind of things are just, they're not my. Bread was the other one. Bread was a big thing that took me, oh my gosh, I get memories back on my photos, and I look at some of the bread that I made a couple years ago, and just look like, I mean, they look like footballs, look like egg glazed footballs. They just look terrible. But yeah, these, so potatoes, mashed potatoes, gravy, things like that. These are things that I'm trying to tackle. Everybody's got something that's hard for them. As soon as I started using cast iron years and years ago, eggs weren't a big deal. Bacon wasn't a big deal. You know, casseroles weren't a big deal. Quiche, pies, that wasn't a big deal. But it just seemed like the simple things are the things that I had a hard time with. And I think everybody's, I mean, do you guys have something out there that maybe you had a hard time with that's really easy to do, that you that something that a lot of people would think is easy, but it was kind of a challenge? If you do, just throw it in the comment section. I'm pretty interested to hope that I'm not the only. I'm hoping that I'm not the only one out there that just made. I made a lot of instead of gravy, I made a lot of paste. And I would start off with a pan like this, and I'd have just a little bit of grease toward the bottom. And when I'd make gravy, by the time it was at the top, by the time I was done, it was like glue. It was like glue, and it would be all the way to the top to where I couldn't stir it anymore. And I'd have this, and I'm one of those people that doesn't like to waste stuff, so I would eat it anyway. And it was absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. But I don't know how many like pots of gravy I made that I ate that was just, ugh, it was horrid. But anyway, so we've got the potatoes are going. I'm gonna crank these. Oh, I already cranked them up. I'm gonna put my peas over onto just simmering, and I'm gonna throw a little bit of pepper on top of those and get that started. Mashed potatoes are not difficult. Took me a while to get sauces good. Yeah, I can see that. Roux sauces, like as in roux, like making the roux and things like that. That does seem like, you know, it is hard. It is hard to do those things. That's why I kind of, when it comes to sauce, I kind of stick with Italian, because it's not as hard to do it as say something like, you know, Louisiana style, Southern style, where there are a lot of roux. I tried to boil water, and rust floated to the top. That's the thing too, guys. When I'm trying to read your comments on my feed, if I'm not looking directly at the back of my camera, I'm looking at my monitor, and I only get about 5 at a time, and then they kind of work their way away. So if I miss something, I apologize. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to be hard to. It's not that I'm not trying to get to them. It's just that I have my back to my monitor to keep this going over here, and so I'm having to look back and forth to see where we're at. Oh, looks like we've got more people coming in. That's good. Yeah, I'm telling you, Val, my gravy was ridiculous, and it was salty, and it was just chunky. It was never smooth. Now this gravy that I'm doing tonight, I'm hoping, I'm using beef broth, like the canned stuff, not the canned stuff, the box stuff, to do the pork gravy. So I'm hoping that beef broth was the right idea, but I'm pretty sure that it, you know, they don't. they don't make a pork gravy. They just the only pork gravy that I ever see anywhere is sausage gravy, white gravy, country gravy, the good stuff. Oh, Granny Graham's here. Nice to see you, man. Hope everybody's doing well. Christmas is coming. It's 6 days away, and yeah, I had. This was crazy. I went to go do some Christmas shopping last week, and I found out that my identity got stolen. So all my cards were rendered useless as of last week, and I've had to go, and I can't Amazon shop, I can't Etsy shop, I can't eBay shop, I can't do any of that stuff because I'm waiting for all my new cards to come, all my new numbers to come. None of my old numbers work, and so I have to be able to write checks. I have to be able to write a check, and I have to be able to pay in cash. And when I went to my bank, now a little background on me, my bank, I live in a very, very small rural town in the Great Lakes region, and my my bank is in the town next to me. Now, next to me, now that's 20 to 25 minutes away. So anytime when I found this out, I had to go there, and I had to drive 25 minutes to go to the bank just to get cash out. I had like a lot of people anymore in the modern day. I don't carry a lot of cash at my house. I generally use my cards, and so I've kind of been screwed. A lot of the stuff that I had planned to get online, and the other thing is this being this time of the year, a lot of your mail's running slow. So I was supposed to get my cards. So I was supposed to start getting my cards in the mail to activate yesterday, and I've went up to my post office to my box today. I live in such a small town. We don't have post office boxes. We don't have mailboxes at our houses. We just have PO boxes. So I have to go. I physically have to go up to the town post office and check for my stuff. Well, if I go Christmas shop now, it'll be called shoplifting. I hear you. I hear you, Cynthia. So a lot of the stuff I'm just like waiting, and luckily, because my kids' Christmases are separated. My daughters are older. My kids are just about all grown, and so we have separate. They do stuff with their mom, and then they do stuff with me. And next week they're doing their stuff. This is the year they do stuff with their mom. So I've got until I actually won't be doing my Christmas until I believe it's 27th or 28th. So it gives me some extra time to finish my Christmas list. Their Christmas list. My Christmas list is pretty short. Let me see here. Who else we got in here? Val, Cynthia. What's Val? Wait a minute. So I was like, what's cooking? I'm doing a pork roast. And I'm at a lull because I didn't prepare very well for this. But I promise once we get started, once these potatoes are going, everything will get started pretty quickly. And if Luis, I don't know if anybody knows if Luis is doing a show tonight. But yeah, William heard I'm doing a pork roast, mashed potatoes, and hopefully some gravy and green peas. I'm keeping it really simple. That's what we're doing. I've got the roast in right now at 450 for another 8 minutes. It's going to go to do that. And what I'm going to do is, while I'm making the other stuff, is once that gets to a temperature of about 158, 159, I'm going to pull that off. I'm going to wrap it in foil. I'm going to let it rest while I do everything else and hope that it goes up to 165, which it should. And then once I pull that off, I'll make the gravy. I'll mash the potatoes up. I've got the KitchenAid right over here. And I've got the peas simmering with the butter and black pepper because that's all they need. One of the things I want to make, speaking of green peas that I want to make for Christmas this year, I don't know if if it's a regional thing here or not, but we make cream peas with pearl onions, peas and pearl onions in a cream sauce. Now, I don't know if a lot of people do that, but that is one thing that we do here, and I'm going to make that for Christmas. My Christmas is going to be ham with a bourbon maple glaze with cherries, pineapples, and maraschino juice and all that stuff in the glaze, brown sugar, and then I'm gonna do. I got one of these pineapple pans here. I'll show this to you while we're standing here waiting around doing nothing. I will show you this thing I got, and I am super excited to use this next week. I got to clean it up, but I got a pineapple pan, the Lodge pineapple pan. And I'm super excited to use this. And I'll just do a quick, I'm going to do a video on this one, but if you notice on the bottom of that, it's got the Lodge and it's got the reissue. These came out in the last few years. Supposedly, from what I found online, is they did these as the reissue, and they did them for Williams-Sonoma and their brick and mortar stores down in Tennessee. And that was all the longer they did it. Now, I don't know how true that is, but the one thing that I did find out is that I started looking around and I found out that Lodge had done another one of these. So if you see these on eBay, if you want to get one, if you see them on eBay and they say vintage or anything like that, and they have this on there, of course, we all know that the 1896 isn't vintage anyway. It's been the new Bakeware series that's come out in the last, 5-6 years. But the other ones, the really vintage ones from what I can find from the 70s, the handles are a little bit different. They're thinner, and they don't have any markings on them. They're just plain. Those are the vintage ones. So if anybody's trying to sell you one that's the way you can tell the vintage from the other ones. Other than that, they're fairly identical. I got to look to see if the part numbers are the same. And I imagine they probably might be. But this has got a couple rust spots, like here and whatever. And I'm just going to take a little scrubby and brush those off and oil them up. And then I'm going to do pineapple upside down cake next week for Christmas. Instead of my usually I do the Tom Cruise white chocolate coconut cake, but this year I'm going to do pineapple upside down cake in one of these. So that should be pretty cool. Let's see what anybody's saying. Yeah, there's all kinds of people showing up. Oh, let's get the lid off that. Let's get the lid off that and get the wooden spoon across there. Don't care what anybody says, the wooden spoon works. I think the wooden spoon works. Keeps everything from bubbling over. At least that one does. The ones up here, let me go back just a little bit, maybe. Back that way. But these wooden spoons don't work to stop the bubble over like the plain wood spoons. And I think that's got something to do with the finish, the paint, the sealants and everything else that are on those. So yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty excited to do the put that back on the shelf. That thing's heavy. That's one thing about Lodge. You can get a workout using Lodge, that's for sure. But my daughter was saying that these need to be fork tender before I throw those in there. And she said they don't want to be mushy, but they just want to be able to be punctured with a fork. And taking the lid off now that it's getting a good boil. How long? I don't know how long that'll take, but it'll take too long. Coffee's getting cold. Oh my gosh, I'm just like all over the place with that. Sorry, I got you guys all messed up. But yeah, once that gets to that point, um, we'll be a little more action. But yeah, and I saw that that lodges issued the new, or not the new, but they've reissued the Year of the Dragon pans at Williams Sonoma, which I don't know how I feel about that one. That's one of those pans. I think it's kind of neat when people actually have them from the first time they go around, sort of like the buffalo nickel skillets. I kind of, I really like when they do the one run and then that's it. Then they don't do a new one. They just do that. It's like I know when I found out that collecting cast iron was a thing, I really wanted one of the Lodge buffalo nickel skillets, and I got one. I found them really cheap for like $15 a piece at a restaurant supply website, and I bought a couple of them, and I had two of them, and I kept one for myself. And then I looked up on eBay how much they were going for, and they were like $75 because they didn't 75 to $100, and that's because Lodge didn't keep doing it. And so I sold that one. I saw what they were worth, and then I bought the other pan for somebody else to have, and then they didn't want the buffalo nickel skillet, so I put it online, and I sold it for what the going rate. And then a year later, Lodge starts putting them back out, and now they're worth you can get one for like $22 on sale. So it kind of devalues the pans, and it kind of takes the fun out of collecting and having something that maybe somebody else might not have. Yeah, I still got my buffalo pan. That was my. It was funny because like I said, I think in another video that one of the things is I had a little bit of Wagner ware and a few hand-me-downs here and there that I had for pans, but I wasn't really interested in collecting. I didn't really know it was a thing. I just wanted one of those buffalo nickel skillets, and I got one, and then I sold the other one paid for the other one that I had, and then I had one, and then I start seeing that they reissued them. It's kind of like the walking lady Liberty skillet. I hope they don't reissue that. I hope whoever got them, and that's going to be it. And then they're going to be valuable. They're going to be kind of more of a collector's item. It's like one of my Grail pans, one of my Holy Grail pans is the Steal Your Face, the Grateful Dead pans, and I'll never have one. And I think the last time somebody sent me a link, they were selling one about a month ago. They were selling the 5 and the 8, which was the set. It was like $2,500, which, if you really wanted it, you could get it, whatever. But it's, it's on an auction, online auction and things like that. So you never know if you're going to actually get one. And finding one in the wild is probably never going to happen. But I really hope they don't ever reissue those pans, because I think they should be a once one and done kind of thing. And that's what, that's how I think that stuff's so cool like that. You get, that's, when it was made, the year it came out, all this stuff, and having something like where it's just, it's just a pan that everybody, anybody can have, then you can get it anytime. It kind of takes the collector fun out of it. And, for people like me that are cast iron nerds, that's kind of the fun. I'm going to go ahead. We've had that in for the 25 minutes at 450 on the roast. I'm going to knock that down to 365 for the rest of the way, and I'm going to let that brown up. It smells really good. It smells fantastic. Let me move this one lid off to the side, not to smash my glasses that I'm not wearing that I should be. Grab my oven mitts and get another trivet out, and we'll swing that around. We'll swing the roast. I'll grab that trivet around that I had out before. There. Oh, the sound of somebody's collection that has too much cast iron. Well, I don't think there is such a thing. So we're gonna bring this back over here, sorry. Unexpected move. Let's make sure we're kind of centered up a little bit. I'm gonna break this out of here. And we'll set that onto there and see how that's doing. And we'll get a temperature check. Careful not to burn my face. That's one thing about the lives that I don't have my fans going. I don't have my overhead hood fans on. But we're gonna see where that's going, and I'm not gonna baste it. I'm not gonna do anything like that. I'm just gonna let it sit and do its thing and get the internal temperature on it. And hopefully, let's get internal on this. Put it to where I can read it, actually. So yeah, we're just under 70 degrees there. But at the bottom, the deeper I go, it's making its way to the, I kind of check it a few different ways. Like there, we're at 149, but I want to get the center temperature. So there we're at 79, 80. We're about 80 degrees at the center. We're at 95 there. And over here underneath the fat, that's really good. Yeah. Okay, so we're about 135 on the edges, but we're going to be down to, we're going to get to the point here where we're browning everything, and we've lowered the temperature, and we still got about 30 degrees to go. So, you know, there's without the lid on. And that's not going to take too long. It's probably going to pan out pretty good as far as that goes. Like I said, it seems about an average of about 130 with a few different spots here and there. I am burning pork roast and mashed potatoes. That's currently what's on the burn list for tonight. Yeah, let me just hit the comments here. Rick's here. Hey, Rick. Good to see you. Oh, wow, we're at an all-time high of folks in here. And all-time high, Jimmy Langford. Thanks for showing up, buddy. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. I'm going to grab let's see. Yeah. Got all the folks in here tonight. All the cool kids are in. Sitting in the back of the schoolroom. Oh, there's my dog coming out here. She must have, my dog smelled she smelled everything going. Let's turn a little light. Let's see if we can get the light going on here. Yeah. The dog came out. She smelled she heard the oven door and smelled the food, so she's out here on the prowl now. Doing her thing, giving it a big yawn and stretch. I'm gonna grab a fork, one of the big forks, so we can start checking the potatoes. So I don't want to watermark the potatoes out. We'll do a pan over, if I can get the pooch to stand still for a minute. I'd say another couple minutes on these potatoes, and we'll get these over here. Give you a shot of that. A shot of potatoes. Potatoes are starting to come along fairly well. We in there? Yeah. So fork tender is what she was saying, which that's looking like fork tender to me. But I'm not a potato expert, so I'm going to give those a few more minutes. And it's not going to hurt them to do that before we start putting them in, because I might even have to end up putting them in a dish off to the side. We'll see how the peas are doing, because these are just frozen peas, keeping it pretty simple. They're not doing anything. They're just sitting there, kind of marinating. And we'll bump that up just a smidge. And these up just to get these off the stove there. But yeah, they're a little hard yet. These are a little on the harder side. So we'll let that kind of do its thing. Goes out of the way. Keep the spoon on the does anybody else use the spoon on top of the on top of the boiling water to keep it from boiling over? That's something I looked it up a long time ago why that works, and now I can't remember why. I can't remember why it does it, but it does work. There is actual there's for real sciences behind that. There's some real things, some equations. Ooh, that's still hot. Leave that lid over there for a minute. I'd like to put it into the sink, but that's still hot. I don't want to take the risk of flash breaking my Wagner unmarked lid. And notice I didn't use again tonight. I did not use a cast iron lid. My cast iron lid is over there. Usually that glass lid sits on my Wagner chicken fryer, but they have swapped spots for tonight. Yeah, William Hurt, there is actually a science behind that, and I forget what it, I'll look it up, and the next time we have a show, I will explain why that works, but there is science behind it. And I can't for the life of me or off the top of my head remember, and I can't currently Google because I'm reading your comments on my monitor, so I can't Google that, why it does it. But yeah, that's an easy Google search. That's where I found it.
Moisture absorbs into the spoon.
Is that what it is? Oh, here, my daughter Ming just saved the day. She says what it is that when these are the unfinished spoons, it allows the moisture to absorb into the spoon instead of reflecting off like it would with glass or metal on the lid. So that makes, there you go. There's the reason. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what she's saying. I guess she just looked it up. So she's kind of in the background. She was gonna make. I wanted her to make the potatoes for me tonight because this is her recipe, but she is homeschool. She homeschools, and today and tomorrow, I believe, are her last days of. These are the last days of her session, so she's got finals and she's doing her final testing and things like that. I think that's about ready to go. Hey, Ming. Come here, I'm going to show you this. You tell me if it's right. Because you're the potato whiz around here, not me. Yeah, that's what she was saying. I'm going to have her come in behind the scenes and take a look at where it is. She's going to fork it.
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect? That's where I want them?
Yep.
So just drain them off and go from what?
Put them in the KitchenAid.
Okay, we'll drain those off and go to the KitchenAid. Take the pooch with you since I'm going to be using the draining off and doing the hot water. So I'm going to move the KitchenAid around here in a minute and get that done. See if she might want a treat. Keep her busy. Something to chew on. She's a chewer. Those terriers, they're chewers. If she'd come out here again, I'd pan around and let you see her. She's a pip. She's definitely a pip. So yeah, so they're saying that these are done, so I'm going to move some stuff around and I'm going to drain those off, and then we'll move the KitchenAid over in there and we'll start breaking those up and doing that. You get a little taste of my coffee, and I'm going to set the timer. I want a timer on that pork because if not, I'll forget it. So I think about 5 minutes went by, so I'm going to give it another 20 minutes. And I'll check it in between that amount of time. But I'm going to take these off, and I'm going to get those ready to go over to the KitchenAid. I'm going to move I don't need the trivet anymore. That has served its purpose. Trivet's done its job. The cutting board has done its job for the night, so we can move that out of the way. get these. Let me get this KitchenAid put into its spot. And I just had to move things over because anybody, you guys have all watched this before, you know I'm working in a pretty tight area, so I've got to do some bustling around. I am moving the microwave off of that spot next to the stove so I have more room to work there, and I can use different angles to cook with from the other side of the stove. But right now I have that huge radiation clock, digital clock that never is, that has the right time on it, that people call microwaves, and I'm gonna have that out of the way hopefully by the next time we have another live. Check comments here while I get this. Yeah, Jimmy Langford, everybody's, I got a lot of people showing up. That's not, hey, great, and thank you so much for the likes. We have just about as many likes as we have people in here, so that's great. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it, really do, especially for something where we're just, people are showing up and we're just watching a pot of potatoes boil. So let me move this over here to the KitchenAid that's set up. And I'm going to drain these off once I find the lid again, which is right here. And we'll do that. And then this is where we get things going. And I hope Cynthia appreciates the fact that we used our Cynthia Wesley pan, our T-fault pan tonight, while we boiled our potatoes. And I'm having to do a little doctoring of the recipe that Ming gave me for the potatoes, because she's used to making these for a lot bigger crowd than what I'm doing for just the two of us that are here this evening. So do this, that over here for a second. I'm gonna pop the potatoes into there off camera. Let's see how much water is in there. Might be a little too much water for me to have in there. So we'll do that again. We'll do another drain of that. I'm not going to try and put them through the colander because I'm afraid I'm going to lose some because they're, oh yeah, there's a lot more water in there. Okay. So pop that in there. Pop the potatoes in. Set the pan off to the side. And now she said that I could use any whisk that I wanted from my KitchenAid. So I'm hoping that she's not lying. But I don't think she is. I think this should mix up fairly decent. So we're going to chunk in, we're going to go 1 stick of butter, unsalted, of course. And I'm going to let that sit there. Now it's been out on the counter for about an hour, so it should be fairly soft anyway. But I'm going to let that I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to kind of put it toward the middle. Sort of put that to the middle and sort of push that down in there a little bit and let that soften for a minute. But I want it there in the middle because I want it to get in the middle of everything. So we've got that in there, and we're going to go ahead and, what is she saying about salt and pepper? So free reign on the salt and pepper. So, but we are going to add a stick and a half of butter in there. That is she says that's the key ingredient. So that's about what I've got, I think. I got a stick and a half of butter, and I'm not gonna challenge her on this. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw the stick and a half of butter in there and go from there. And then she said what I want to do is I've got some whole milk that's sitting out on the counter for about 45 minutes, getting warming up. She said I don't want to. How'd she say it? She said I don't want to add the cold milk into it. So we're not going to add the cold milk into it. There we go. Let's check the comment section here while I let that butter melt just a second. Yeah, I do too. I keep cold. My butter dish sits right here. This that sits on my table at all times. That's what I'm going to use for my dinner. So whip them slow. We're just going to whip them slow. But I'm going to let that butter soften up there just a second. We're going to throw, I'm going to grab my salt. Grab the salt, which I thought was sitting out, but it's not. So we're just going to throw about a half teaspoon of salt in there. And I'm going to crank some, I'm going to put a little pepper in there. This is just to get them started up. And I like pepper a lot more than I like salt, so that's where we're at with that. So that should be just about enough pepper. I'd say about a teaspoon is what we put in there. And we're going to let them, we'll just put that in on, that hook in on, there we go, that butter's in there. And for fun, we're going to put this on here so I don't splash it every place. Throw this on there to the side and come around my camera that I'm always working around and hook this into the other side. There we go. There we go. And we're just going to lock that down and throw that on low. And we're going to drop in, we're going to start with a 1/4 cup of milk. Start with a 1/4 cup of milk and see what happens. Well, this shouldn't take much. It should not take much at all. And we'll stop a couple times to that should be just about it. I don't think that I really need much more than that before I have to scrape the sides down. And we're doing good time with everything. I just got to turn these keys up just a little bit more. I'm going to get those going because this is going to start playing out here real quick. Just add a few dribbles of that milk in there. Which that doesn't make any difference, and then we'll take I really just had the guard on there so that that butter didn't come flying out. And then we'll just take and pop that down. Oops, sorry, I hit the camera. Then we'll sort of just scrape the sides of it in, fold that over. But it's still got some lumps in it, so we're gonna hit that back in there a little bit. It's kind of got to even out. And let that, oh, I should use my guitar thing I already had out. Getting too many utensils out, making too. And we'll just go right there. Rick, I don't know how to make anybody a moderator. I don't know anything about the internet. I have no idea. I'm not on any social media other than YouTube, and that's really about it for me. I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on anything, any of these other weird streams that people are on. I'm definitely not on TikTok. I don't have any interest in TikTok. It doesn't amuse me. my attention, I like my YouTube shorts, but after a while, I tend to watch things that are kind of on for a long time. Sort of, I kind of don't. I sometimes go down little rabbit holes with stuff that on the YouTube shorts, but I don't a lot of times. I generally tend to watch things that are about an hour to an hour and a half long. No, this is one of the first times I've ever. Usually, what I would do when I'm doing my daughter's recipe for potatoes is I would take these out and put them into a baking dish, and then what I would do is put them in a baking dish with a bunch of butter on top of them and bake them till they got a little like light brown crust on them. I kind of remember that's how one of my grandmothers did them. Let's see where we're at with our temperature on our pork roast. Why is that so cold in the center? I don't get that. I can't believe it's that cold in the center. That doesn't make any sense. Because I had such a hot reading before. I'm going to take it out of there and get a better reading on that. I just don't like where that's... I had a hotter reading before. And I'm doing this by recipe. I don't want to do that too much. But we're going to... I'd say those are pretty well, I'll let them go another minute or two. I'm going to let them long enough to take the pork roast out and take a look at it. I don't like to take things in and out. I'd rather them just kind of cook. But for whatever reason, I've lost temperature instead of gained temperature. And I'm not sure what's going on with that. Because I definitely can't stir. Everything else is catching up. I was supposed to be down to about the last 5 minutes of that. There we go. I don't want to do that too much. I'm going to pop this back out and take a look at it. I don't know why this internal temperature is not getting to where I want it to be. So maybe I just can't see it right. Yeah, the internal temperature is really low. And it was higher. I was like almost worried that it wasn't going to be where I needed it to be to begin with. That just doesn't make any sense. See, in other spots I'm at 135, 140. And in that one spot, it's just not, I'm not getting anything. I'm not sure what's going on. I really don't know why it's doing that. Usually pork roast is this is pretty much a done deal. So let's see what's going on. Let me try something. Because the outer edges, I'm going to pop it up on its side and take a look. Sorry, I'm not hitting the camera, but I want to figure this out real quick. But I'm going to take that trivet out and see if that helps to speed up the process just a smidge, because it shouldn't be taking this long to go and do all of that. And maybe we'll I think I'll throw the lid back on it. I think the lid, maybe I should have left the lid on there a little bit longer, but so we'll just pop that lid back on. And because I've lost, for whatever reason, I've lost temperature, and I don't know why that is. So I'll take it back to 425, throw the lid back on, and give it another 10 minutes like that, because it should heat up fairly quick, unless I had a cold spot in the middle of it from where it didn't defrost right. That could be. I could have had a spot where it didn't defrost all the way in the center, and that's not where I want to be. Let's especially because I got the potatoes are ready to go, and my peas are coming along pretty well as well. Peas are starting to come around. Yeah, I'm sort of disappointed by that. I mean, things happen when you cook live. That's the fun and exciting part about that's the fun, exciting part about cooking live, I guess. That and I get to hang out with everybody. Hog Wild Huey, you're getting your, on the 24th, you are getting your surgery on my main hand. The main hand, huh? So is that your dominant hand? But I'm going to add some time to that. I'm going to add another, sorry about that. I really wanted to be, I kind of thought I had it timed out to where that's where we would be at this point. Yeah, man, that sucks about it. I've been through some stuff, man. I've been through some stuff with surgeries, and it's a long road. I'm gonna do the Lodge challenge, but yeah, what is the Lodge challenge? I never see where people challenges. I get the Cast Iron Wednesday channels. I see that from guys like Shovelhead 8 and different people like that, but I never see where the Lodge does that, gets theirs. Yeah, I never see where they come up with their stuff. I'm gonna put this on the back burner to stay warm while we're waiting on the roast. Boy, yeah, I'm just super disappointed about that. Really disappointed, because I thought I would actually be resting my roast while I was getting the potatoes mashed. I thought that would all come together about the same time. Oh well, it is what it is. But I think those look really good. I think the potatoes came out. Potatoes are looking pretty good. I'll throw some foil on top of those and set those onto the warmer. And we'll go from there with those. But I like how those came out. They smell really good. Oh, it's on the Lodge website. Okay. I did not know that. I did not know that. Because I watch their stuff when it comes out. I get notifications for their YouTube, but I don't see that they do a lot of stuff on that. Ooh, there's potato. Oh, those are good. But yeah, I'll throw a little foil on those, and we'll do that. Let's see, we're a little after 8 o'clock, so we've been going about an hour, a little over an hour. And I think let's swing the camera around, but I'm going to foil that up. I'm going to drop a little bit of butter in there. Keep it. And put that back up. I'm going to drop a little butter on there just to keep it moist. And put that over the back burner, back over the vent on the warming thing, and we'll throw some foil on there and keep it warm. And hopefully we catch, the rest of that catches up, because it should catch up fairly quick. It should catch up fairly quick to get up to one. I want to have it at least at 165 internal. I know a lot of people will say, 145 on this, on that, but when it comes to pork, I don't take a lot of chances with pork. Pork is one of those things that I'll eat some pretty rare cow and like that, and even some rare lamb or mutton. But when it comes to chicken and chicken and pork. I don't really like to take a lot of chances with that kind of stuff. There we go. That's starting to. Yeah, that's too bad that it kind of went around the way that way. Let's see. Let's see. I'm just gonna read. I'm just gonna kind of, since we've got I got a couple of minutes here. We'll just stare at my stove and um, stare at the stove and just check the comments. Yeah, let me see. Let's see, how did it come with the guy? Tacos sound good, Corey. Had tamales last night. I have not had tamales in, I bet, 6 or 8 years is the last time I had tamales. We actually saw them at the store pre-made, and my daughter was all down to, she was like, let's do the tamales, let's get tamales. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I've never had them from the store, so not sure if that's something I'd be too down to try. And the dog just came in. She's out there doing her thing, powdering her nose. No, don't jump on me. You're all wet. Don't jump on me. You're all wet. Go everybody wipe your paws, so you're not dragging the outdoors into the indoors. Let's see. It is so cold here. My daughter just brought in the dog, and the dog's cold. They've only been out 5 minutes, and everybody's freezing. That's funny. Yeah. We got potatoes. Potatoes warming up. Let's see. Get some gas station sushi. I bet that would clean the pipes. I haven't had a whole lot of sushi in my life, and the only sushi that I've ever had has been lobster. And so that's my experience with sushi. And I wasn't bad. It's just not readily. There's like 2 places. The local Sam's Club does sushi. So I don't know. I'm just weird about fish, I guess. But I've kind of done, kind of not too sure about sushi from Sam's Club. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But yeah. And then what's the other place? We have a place about a half hour from here that does sushi there, and I hear that's really good. People go to that quite a bit. I don't know about it. I've never had it. I've had their other stuff. I've had some other stuff. I'm kind of a kung pao chicken and fried rice and lo mein kind of guy. I don't get too adventurous when it comes to food like that, and like at restaurants. I'm kind of the number one. When I go to fast food, it's always a number one. I get number one, whatever it is. Yeah, sushi. Yeah, your dad had a bait shop. You know, it's funny when I go to see my relatives in Texas. They use shrimp to fish. Like we go to the golf there a little bit and go fishing, and they use shrimp to fish and crawdads they eat. You know, everybody eats crawdads there. Now up here it's exactly, and around the Great Lakes it's exactly the opposite. We use crawfish, crawdads, whatever you want to call them. We use those for bait, and we eat shrimp. You know, I would have never. It blew my mind when we came out of the bait shop and what's that place in Texas? It's right up. I want to say not Corpus Christi, but something, and yeah. But it just blew my mind when everybody comes out and they have big bags of shrimp. And then we go back at the end of the night and we eat shrimp, or one of my aunts will make seafood pontchartrain, and it's all crawfish. So it's just funny how people do things differently in different places. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Bait grade shrimp. Okay. Yeah, I'm around the Great Lakes, so shrimp is what we get when you go. You know, we get it from the store. I've never went. I've never went and caught shrimp. Now, walleye, pike, things like that, I know a lot about that, but shrimp I don't know a lot about it, other than what you get at the store. Yeah, Jimmy Langford, I'm in Ohio. I'm in up around the Great Lakes, up around Lake Erie. I'm not very far from Lake Erie. That's where I'm at. So bait grade shrimp is a thing, huh? Who knew? I didn't know. I had no idea. I had no idea that that was a thing at all. But let's break into that roast and see if we're getting anywhere. I'm gonna flip the roast as well. I'm gonna go fat side down and sort of brown that bottom. I'm worried about the bottom of the roast browning more than the other. I took the trivet out, and that's one thing with Dutch oven cooking, that you can get a little. Those trivets, they add a lot of time, and sometimes you can, at least I can miscalculate. With the trivets in. So I took the trivet out. I'm gonna bring it up and stick it up here. I've got about a million utensils for some reason going on. Some of them I can get rid of in just a second. But I'm gonna flip that over to the fat side. It's looking good. It's nice and brown. And I am gonna, like I said, I'm gonna flip that over real quick. And go from there with it. We'll grab one of these utensils and a fork, and we'll just flip that over. So I think that's what it needs. I think it needs to go over real quick. We have that bottom part. Flip that down, that onto the fat side. And I'm going to take a reading on the other, while I have it this way. Right here, thermometer. And yeah, I'm cranking up there now. I'm at 135. I'm going to throw that fat side on there. That fat side. I'm just going to leave it at 450. That seems to be where I needed to be with that trivet in there. I'm going to go ahead and stick that back on the top of there, because this should be, like I said, we're at a spot with this where it should have been done by now. Should have been resting, and we should have been eating by now. But we're going to give that just a few more minutes. Did anybody ever say if Luis was having a show or not tonight? I'm not sure. Not sure if he did or not. If he is or not. Let's give the peas a check. See how the peas are doing. Oh yeah, peas are going along. I'm going to rinse off a couple of these utensils, because some of them I don't need and some of them I do want to use. So I'm going to move some of these out of the way. I'm going to rinse a couple of them off, kind of clear my station. And I'm not going anywhere. I'll just rinse these off real fast. Some kind of a clean as you go kind of fella. It's part of my moniker. Keep my station clean. But I think some of them we don't need them anymore. So we'll push those off. And the guitar spatula is kind of an all-purpose deal. It seems to go and do everything that I need it to do. I'm gonna wipe this handle off, potatoes off of there. I'll pick that up. Right down in the dog bowl. Dog will like that little snack. She's got some peas and potatoes coming. She's a peas and potatoes kind of dog. Let's see. Let me catch up on the. Yeah, she's out here. She saw the peas and carrots. I'll swing over and give you a little side shot of this pooch. Beagle. Come over and say hi. There you go. Say hi to everybody. There you go. She had her little bit of potatoes, and she's out of here. She's going back to go watch my daughter do homework. But if you notice, the one thing I really like about the enamelware, especially this Descoware, is the cherry red color that it turns when it gets going. I'm gonna add some more time to this. But I don't want to overcook it, but I don't think that's going to be much of a problem. I'm going to move my KitchenAid out of the way for just a second. And make room, because the next step is I'm hoping that we're going to be able to plate this stuff up. Yeah, that's the dog. Yeah, the dog's Nipsey Russell. That's Nipsey Russell. But we call her the Beags. All of our dogs are Beagles. It's a sort of a family thing. They all get monikered Beagles no matter what their name is. Sometimes I call her Nipsey and she doesn't know who I'm talking to. But if I call her the Beags, she comes running. Oh, catfish. Everybody's talking about catfish. I got a really funny catfish story. When I was a kid, when I was in high school, my parents put a pond in. When I was probably a sophomore in high school, they put it in one of those. Where I was living at the time, the area my parents lived in, they had, people were putting ponds in everywhere. That was like the big thing for everybody to do. And my dad put in, what was it, catfish, largemouth bass, and bluegill. That was what he put in. That was the main thing. And we weren't ever allowed to fish it because my dad wanted him to grow for a year or so. So we weren't ever allowed to fish it. And then, my sophomore, like I said, I think it was a sophomore in high school when they put the pond in. And so as far as fishing went, other than when the bluegill kind of overran everything, we fished it a little bit for bluegill, but we weren't allowed to bottom fish. Well, anyway, right after my senior year, I went to school and I moved away. And then about a year later, my dad sold our farm, sold the house. And so when he sold the house, we never fished it. Well, anyway, a guy bought the house. And then he ended up getting sick, and he had a really long, prolonged illness, like 10 years. He was real sick, and nobody messed with it. It was just a couple that didn't have kids that bought our farmhouse, and so nobody ever fished it. And then for a while, it sat. Then after that fellow, he passed away, and then his wife lived there for another 10 years, and so. It never got fished. Never got fished. Well, then somebody bought the house after she'd moved out. She sold the house, and somebody went in there and they bought that house, and it still obviously had the pond, and they kept the pond up. They swam in it and this, that, and the other. But they were fishing. Some people started finally swimming and fishing into that pond, and they were pulling out 25-pound catfish that had never been fished out in 20-some years. These catfish had just had free range of this very well taken care of pond. It never got scummed over or anything like that. It was aerated. My dad aerated the pond. But they were pulling out 25, 30-pound catfish from this pond after all that. So these things were, and the bass were huge. I guess the bass were like 3 to 6. They were pulling out 5, 6-pound bass out of that thing. And my dad, when he was still living and living on the farm, he had, he used to take our Christmas trees and throw them in the pond. That way the bass would have like a little habitat to live in. And so, and he aerated, had air pumps throughout it, and all you'd have to do is plug it in and flip a switch, and then it'd aerate and everything. It was a pretty good setup for my high school years, having a pond like that. It was fun for pool parties, but there was no fishing. None of that fishing stuff. Let me see. Yeah, I maybe I missed it in the comment section, but is Luis having a live tonight? I looked on his thing earlier and it wasn't updated from last week. It wasn't updated. So I know a lot of times he doesn't, being 3 hours behind me, he doesn't update until sometimes my 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Let's see. Where we at here? Let's see. Peas are done. Potatoes are done. And I'm going to give the pork about 5 more minutes. It should be at 450, I would imagine, without that trivet in there and on the fat side down. This thing we should be in business here pretty quick. I am going to get a plate out to let that pork sit in while I make the gravy. But get a little platter, kind of a platter to put that on. So we can set that and wrap that in foil while I make gravy. But yeah, and this is why I go on 2 hours before Luis, because that way people, I have plenty of time to screw up my show, my time slot. The old what was it back in the day when Friends were on? It was must see TV was Thursdays. I think that's when it was. Back when people watched regular television. I don't think people really watch that so much anymore. Are you talking, William Herder, are you talking about Luis? Yeah. I don't know, and like I said, I'm in a spot where my monitor's kind of hogged up with, I've got everybody's comments on my monitor, so I don't want to collapse it and start, I'm always afraid that I'm going to lose the feed, so I don't really want to do that. Did you get school done?
Yeah.
All right. Dinner's going to be done here. I was hoping to be done by about 20 minutes ago, but it's not. There's something. I think that trivet. I think that took it a little bit too long because I was getting the temperature right. Mm-hmm. We were right there. I was like at 135, and then I took the lid off, and for some reason it dropped. So I don't know if there was just a cold spot in there or.
Yeah, maybe it didn't fall out a little bit.
Yeah. I'm not sure, but it was at 135 a little bit about 10 minutes ago, so I'm hoping that it should hit there, and then once I throw that out there and then I start making the gravy, I cover that up, and then it should raise that temperature up. You probably hear my dogs slurping water in the background. They've been out walking, and they did a little walk a little bit ago. Tom's Food Factory, what's up, buddy? Thanks for showing up. It's been I kind of hit a delay with the pork roast. It dropped temperature for some reason. It dropped down to almost 20 degrees in the center, and I think it had something to do with the trivet that I had it on was kind of higher. I didn't use my regular trivet that I normally use in there because I didn't want to try and dig it out. I didn't want to dig the big trivet out, so I put a different trivet in there, and that might have had something to do with it once I took the top of it off. Because usually it's 25 minutes with the lid on, and then 25 minutes with the lid off to 365, and I got pork roast, a 3-pound, and this was a 3-pounder, so I don't know what the deal was, but anyway, that's where we're at. This is that's the pros and the pros and cons of going live and doing dinner. Trying to catch up on the comment section here. Yeah, but I don't have anything else going on with this, and unfortunately I don't have anything any kind of cast iron, anything to show that anybody, I don't know if anybody would want to see anything for the next 10 minutes. I can pan over to the rack and we can look at the rack for a second. Maybe. Blame it on Ohio weather. I know I should. They just came in, my daughter just came in from taking the dog out, and the dog was freezing, and she was freezing. It's been about 28 here, 25 here all day. Luckily we haven't had any wind or any snow. It wasn't too bad. And I'm actually kind of hoping that it dries my yard out. I've got some stuff to bring in from the yard still, but I've been waiting for it to dry out so I can put it in the garage. I'm getting down to the last 30 seconds. Show my Wapak Indian. I've shown that one. I can show my other one. I think everybody's seen it. I can bring it over and show it real quick. I can drop that over here. But I've got a few Wapak Indian heads, so bring that one over. If you want to see that one, Fuzz, I'll show you that one. I think we've all seen it. But yeah, this is sort of the pride of my collection right here. This one's a little dusty. It's a little dusty. And the thing with these is they don't sit flat because of the embossed bottom. But the inside, that's the matching lid that goes with it. There were several different kinds of lids, but that's the one, that's the money shot. That's the one you really want. And this is just an absolute pristine condition. It's got a couple flea bites, but I mean, for Wapak, that's just never heard of. That's just a hard one. That's a hard thing to find, is the lid that good. And if you look at it, I don't know, you probably can't see it, but somewhere on here is there's eerie ghost marks on it. And I've never used this, probably never will use it, because everyone I've ever seen has been cracked. I do not right now. I've had Sydney script in the past, but what I bought them for, like anything else, sometimes, you get something, you come and buy something for $5 and then somebody offers you a lot more than that, and you need the room, money talks. So the only one that I really have from that time period right now is I have one which is in my one of the shorts, but that's my Hollowware, my Sydney Hollowware griddle. That's the only one from that era that I have right now, and these are super light. And you can see that the logo on there is that's an amazing shape. It really is. And you can't really see it, but up there is an eerie ghost mark in there on this one. But that's about as crisp of a logo as you're gonna find. It's got a little wear because people used them, but that one, this is the only one that I've ever seen that's intact. And even if you look and you go on the internet and you say, you look up Dutch ovens, Wapak, I can't even find a picture of them. So that's one that I'll never get rid of. It's smooth as glass on the inside, which is also pretty rare for Wapak. And then there's the slight. There's the other reason I don't use it, is that chip at the top. That scares me to death. So I just kind of keep it dusted off. And that's all I ever do to it. It just sits there. I'm probably going to put it underneath something at some point so it doesn't rust up. But yeah, there's that thing. All right, there's my bell for that. But yeah, that's one of those that just scares me to death to use it, because the only ones I've ever seen, they made them in a 7, 8, and a 9, and But I've seen 7, 8s, and 9s, but every one of them I've ever seen has been like severely cracked, barely hanging on. So I don't have any of those. And originally when I bought that one, I bought it to use, but I didn't realize when I bought it that the Indian heads had the embossed lids like that, you know, because they were made essentially just for wood stoves at that time, because they only made them, I think it was in what, '03. They made them from 1903 to 1926. So the old stoves were still definitely around in those days. Let's take this out and give it a look. I can't imagine that this is not done at this point. It just has to be. Let's take it, swing you over here. Swing you guys over this way. Yeah, the juices are running clear on the top. It's gotta be done. Take a quick check in there. That's browned up really nice. Turn that on and see where we're at. I'm still running around 150. 155. Let's do it in here. It was so uneven for the cook. I don't understand that either. Yeah, I'm still running at about 150. So I'm gonna give it another flip. I'm gonna flip it around one more time and give it about 5 more minutes. And it should be ready to wrap at that point. It should be ready to go. Do this without splashing grease all over myself at the bottom. I mean, it looks great. That's what you want to have right there. And I'd rather have it, you know, I'd rather be going undercooked than overcooked any day of the week. I'm glad that I didn't pull this out and it was a piece of charcoal. But like I said, and the potatoes are staying warm. They're on the warming part of the oven, and so we'll just slide that back in there for another 5 minutes and check the temperature. Because I don't need to raise it that much. I really just want to get it to about 160, 165. Oh, coward. Mean taters, exactly. That's like I said. Yeah, 150 is good. It's just like I said. I just wanted to kind of, I just kind of wanted to make sure, just to take it up, because it had just a few cold spots in it, where it just didn't seem to. And that's the one thing about my butcher shop that I go to. Everything there is frozen. You get everything frozen. So I got that at 10 o'clock, and I thawed it out, and it seemed really pliable when I checked it. And I never let the water that was in it, the ice in the water, get above 50 degrees. So it stayed around 50 degrees, the water did. So it should have been thawed out where you needed to be thawed out at, in all honesty. So we should be pretty good. It's done, rest and slice. You think I should let it rest? Let's give it 5 more minutes, and then we'll go on. We'll let that go. But I am going to give it 5 more minutes on the other side. The juices were running fairly clear, and all that. So we shouldn't be in too bad a shape with it, in all honesty. I'm going to grab a little something to drink. I'm not doing a Thirsty Thursday edition today. I'm sticking with the Gatorade. Sticking with Gatorade and coffee today. Let's see, I'm just kind of reading the thermometer you can put in the monitor. Cleaner roast, you can. Yeah, I don't know if you mean like having one like in the oven monitor. I don't have one of those. I just have the electronic tip thermometer. This little deal here. That's what I'm using. It says it's 78 where I'm at right now, which I believe it, because it is definitely hot the edge of hell in this kitchen right now. Oh, get a meat. Okay, I can see it better. Okay, I can see it better now. What you said. Yeah, I need to get one of those where you just stick it into the thing. I've got a bunch of these. I've even got some of the old Cooper ones, the old antique Cooper ones, and I like those. But you know, you get to a certain point with using antique and vintage thermometers. I get a little leery of the mercury that's in them, so they just sort of. I've got one of my meat thermometers that hangs in my garage, so it tells me what the temperature is in my garage. And they're real accurate. It's just they some of the old vintage ones, they don't, once they get to a certain temperature, like around, once they get above 300, the vintage ones kind of are a little off. At least the ones I have. Yeah, I would like a nice probe thermometer would be. Yeah, I don't know. It was Fuzz, was he were you abducted by aliens, Fuzz? If so, I mean, that's killer content right there. Just tell that story all you want, bud. All you want to do. Tell that story. I'm into it. I'll listen. Yeah, depending on what it is, there's Nevada Gambler. Yeah, they do get hot spots in them, and some. I've got one piece. I've got a Wagner National that will sit dead flat when it's cold, but as soon as I heat it up, it's all over the place. It rocks and it spins, and then but when it's sitting there cold, it expands. Some of them just expand different. They expand funny. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if it's the like the nationals and things, the economy skills. Like if they didn't use as good of as good of iron on them as they did with, say, the regular stuff. Because I don't get that, like with my Wagner sets, my Wagner marked. I very rarely have any problem with any kind of a hot or cold spot in them. But it seems like the economy brands. I broke out a Puritan. One of the favorite Puritans. I came across one of those. It's a super nice skill. It sits dead flat and it's just gorgeous. And I'm getting ready to. I'm going to empty out some more stuff that I put in the light tank last week, and I'm going to throw that one in because I'm actually really excited to use it because it feels just as heavy and nice as a regular favorite. Trying to catch up here. Oh yeah, yeah. She's in and out. She's waiting. The puppy Cynthia is definitely waiting for the pork to come off because she's definitely. We're not afraid of table scraps for the dog. I try to feed her. I try to feed her real food. She had when I got the peas out of the freezer, she got a couple teaspoons of freezer peas. She likes those. She likes her ice cubes and stuff. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, it is just about time. Yep, you were right, Mercy. The alarm, the timer went off. I just, I get, like anything else, you don't like to take things in and out and in and out, but, because like the old saying goes, if you're looking, you're not cooking. Hold the puppy up. Puppy is in the other room right now. She's back there. My daughter, like I said earlier, she homeschools, so that's usually her spot. She's usually at the other on the bed while my daughter's doing her schoolwork. She's definitely a pack dog for sure. But let me see. A long time ago, you were released as hostage. Yeah, good enough for me is good enough for the dog. That's right. I don't consider it spoiling the dog either. I consider it giving her good food, giving her something good to eat, as opposed to kibble all the time. And it's a good way to not waste my food. But this is bubbling up pretty good. We're gonna give it one more. Oh yeah, I mean it looks great. That's the thing that's also driving me about nuts with this, is that it looks like it's ready to go. So we'll stick that back in there. We'll give it a look. Oh yeah, I'm okay. I'm at 160, 64 on that part, and 166. I'm there. I'm good with that. So let me get the foil out of the oven so I can wrap that. We'll wrap that up. My foil out of here. Foil out of the oven. Yeah, and then I'll wrap that. I'm going to wrap that up for the to rest it for a few minutes while I make that gravy. While I get that gravy going. So let me put a piece down on the bottom and move that over here. Get the fork in it and a spatula, and we'll set that on there. Set that right there, and move you guys over. That out. It looks gorgeous, and it smells great. And I'm glad that I didn't over season it. I just was real basic with it, and we'll throw the foil on there. Now, one thing about wrapping in foil, let me ask you guys this: does it matter which side? I've read a bunch of things where some people say to use the shiny side, and some people say to use the dull side. I don't know. I'm not really sure. Okay, and then we're just going to go over here and we'll start our gravy, and it's got the bits and everything. And like I said, I love doing gravy this way because anything that's stuck to the bottom of that pan is going to be gone after we do that. So, and what I do is I just cover the top with my Kentucky kernel flour. Now, like I said before, this isn't cut flour. This is, it's really a good idea with Kentucky kernel to cut it. So if I use any more flour for this, I'm going to use all-purpose flour because it's really salty. It's basically Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's really what it's close to, as much as I want to do. And for Cynthia, instead of using a metal spatula, I'm going to break out my silicone spatula so she doesn't have to hear all the scraping. So we'll break out the spatula and we'll get this going for a couple minutes. Start breaking that down. And like I said, if I need to, I shouldn't need any more. That's really kind of I found with the gravy that just covering the amount of fat with a layer of flour, that seems to do really well. And this is a fairly well seasoned Dutch oven. This is the one I use to do all the deep frying outside or in the garage. This does all of that. The seasoning on the bottom is pretty thick, and the insides is pretty thick. This isn't the original Lodge seasoning. I'm never too impressed with Lodge seasoning here in the last few years. I've said in other videos that I had a Lodge that I bought in the mid-2000s that I never re-seasoned until a few years ago. And the ones I get anymore, especially the Blacklock for some reason, that seems to want to come off. I mean, just come right off. I know the black lock that I've got right now that I usually use for my stir fries is on hold to go into the lye tank and be stripped down because the seasoning is just not held enough for anything. So we've got that incorporated in there. I've got the stove on a little bit, and I'll start putting in my broth. And I keep saying I'm going to use my BSR chicken, my Red Mountain chicken fryer for stuff, and I haven't. And I was afraid with the trivet that that wouldn't work. That it wouldn't work this time. And that I wouldn't be able to put the lid on it. Or in one of my other chicken fryers. I've got a Wagner chicken fryer that I really like using it. I haven't used in a while because I've been using this one, and I use this outside in the summer. I used to use my Wagner chicken fryer outside, but I like this one a little better. It's a little more, I'll add a little more stock to this. I'm using beef stock, just the Walmart stuff. And this will thicken up here soon enough. If anybody's still watching. Oh yeah, we still got 20 people in here. That's the top. That's what we had. So everybody's stuck around. That's great. Thank you so much. Keeps me company while I'm cooking. Keeps me company while I'm cooking. That's for sure. Which is nice. It's like having friends over. Turn that heat up. Get that heat going. So this thickens. And once I get it, I can start to see it starting to lighten up a little bit already. I don't want it this thin, but at the same time, I don't want to, see how my potatoes are doing. Yeah, my potatoes are in good shape. I'll throw those, I'm going to throw those, turn my oven off, and I'm going to throw those into the oven and keep them warm. A little warmer, and this will cook down, and this will be some darn good gravy. But yeah, let's get that flame going up there a little bit. If I was smart, I would have put this on the back burner, but it's easier to see right here. And I'm keeping an eye on how long this rests. I don't want it to rest too long, if that's a thing. Because a lot of times I just let it rest about 5 minutes and I start cutting into it. Turn that back on. Let that sit for a second, then I'm going to give my peas a stir so they don't sit and fry. So they're not frying in the background here. There we go. Yeah. I don't want it to get too wilty. But like I said, everything just took a little bit longer than I thought it was going to take. And yeah, this Descoware, if you get a chance to pick yourself up some Descoware for cheap, and you just make sure, because they haven't made this stuff in half a century. So make sure if you get Descoware that it's not chipped up. I just got really lucky. This was one of my finds that I got from on eBay, that it was an auction, and I waited for it to go through the auction cycle and had it on my watch list, and I ended up getting it for not much. I didn't pay much for it, and it's come in so handy. Just get some heat going on this thing, but I wish I would have had the bigger burner that's in the back for this. There we go. Incel hubby, yeah. You know, that's what I use in my cast iron cure seasoning. I use grapeseed. It's a compound of grapeseed and avocado oil, and I get an amazing bronze color out of that. The beeswax helps too. The beeswax really helps. And while I'm sitting here, since I've got everybody still in here, I've got a few more people coming in. I will plug my stuff. real quick. I will plug my cast iron seasoning that I've been making for about 8 years now. But yeah, cast iron cure. You can pick that up on eBay. There's different. The more you buy, the cheaper it is, and you get it comes in a 110 or 210 bundle. The 210 bundles are way cheaper than the one, just because this one's, sending one through the mail is, cost me the same to send two. So I definitely do the two. It's a lot better for me to do the two thing. But yeah, there's my cast iron seasoning. I've been making it forever. It's all I ever use. It's how I condition my pans every time I do anything. And it works fantastic. And it's all made from cold press oils and beeswax that I get right around here, right around my area in Amish country. I actually have two places that I get my beeswax from, and it's all spray-free zones, which means they can't legally use pesticides in those areas, which is something that you don't hear of very often anymore. So it's about as chemical, it's about as all natural as you can get. It's not vegan. So if you're a vegan, it's the beeswax in it is definitely not for you. And I didn't know that. I was at a festival with my booth, and I had somebody tell me that I had a vegan, somebody selling vegan food next to me, and they were checking out my stuff because I do that, and I do my beard products, and that's beeswax as included in those. And they were like, yeah, that's a no bueno for me, because I'm a vegan and I don't do any kind of beeswax, because they don't consider it vegan. So yeah, the gravy's coming along. I'm not trying to make a super thick gravy either, so I'm just wanting it all to sort of, I don't know if you can see it on the side, but it's getting a lighter color, and I want it sort of that lighter color through the whole thing, and then I'll know it's done. And then we'll slice this up and plate it, because I'm really ready to eat and all that. But yeah, that gravy's coming along. That's about where I want it. I used, let's see, how many cups are in this? This is a 2-cup thing, I think. How many cups are in this? Should say on the side. So yeah, this is a 4-cup thing, and I've used about almost 2 cups. I'm almost about halfway through my my thing of beef broth. Like I said, that's starting to bubble up, which I want, so it thickens, and then we'll plate this up, and then we'll be on our way for the night. So it's 9 o'clock here for me, which is a little later than I eat, but I don't eat early in the day. I kind of just sort of hang out. Some snacks, things like that. I eat a big breakfast, and then, well, I should say I eat a breakfast. I eat a couple eggs in the morning, and then I'm not big on lunch. And then we do dinner about 7:30. But yeah, this gravy is just about where I want it. It's starting to, if you can kind of tell, it's starting to simmer up, and we'll get a little bit of that, let a little bit of that water go away. But it's getting pretty. It's got a nice gravy consistency. I don't like a super thick gravy where you got to kind of knife it, use something to kind of get the gravy off. I want it to pour. So that's getting to where we want to be. Turn the peas off, because they're done, and then some. And while that's sort of cooking, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the foil off. I'm going to carve that up real quick and get that out, so my daughter can come out and grab herself something to eat. Hey, Ming. Have her come off and clear the table I've got behind me. I've got a lot of, that's where my extra stuff is kind of going on. I put can you kind of clear that off a little bit? But yeah, I got the table behind me. It's kind of covered with my extra stuff here. But we'll go ahead and get rid of that. The gravy's about where I want it. It's got some nice bits. It's cleaned the bottom. The bottom's cleaned off. We've got a nice simmer going with that. Yeah, I'm at midway through with the gravy, Val. Is that that's where I'm trying not to burn it. But I've got some boils in there. If I let it sit a second, you can see that it boils right up. And that's where I'm wanting it. That gravy looks about perfect. I don't even have to taste it. I know that's where I want it. And that gravy method, I forget where I picked that up. But just using those equal, I mean, maybe that's the way everybody does it, but just using equal parts of fat and flour. And I'm maybe, you know, and then just keep adding and cooking it down. If it were up to me, if I wasn't on sort of a time limit and having a show going on, I'd just sit here and stir this and add a little more, keep adding the broth in there. I've started with the same amount and added like an entire thing of broth and had gravy. I've just stirred it for hours on end because I have like the weirdest attention span in the world. But anyway, I'm gonna I'm gonna turn the heat down on that because that's where I want it. And the pan's hot enough to where that's just gonna keep cooking. And I'm gonna put that off to the side. And Cynthia, I hope you noticed that there's no scraping sound on this. No metal scraping on the cast iron. So you've got that going for you. And I've got, like I said, I got the heat off. So I think I can kind of take away from the spatula for a second. I'm going to go over here and we're going to cut this up. We're going to take this off. That's rested about 10 minutes or so, maybe 15. And we're going to slice that. That's sliced up. Oh yeah, stayed nice. Nice and juicy. There we go. Foil off to the side. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. Maybe that's a little better. Okay. And then I'll flip this over and I'll get the slicing knife, go the fat side up. Get a slicing knife, flip that over, cut along there. And, oh yeah. Absolutely. Look at that. It's got just a little bit of grain in it, but it's not shiny, which means it's not roaring, or it's not super rare, but it is done. It's got a nice crust on it, but it's not dry. See the juices running off that. I'm just going to cut off 2 pieces. Let those kind of move that off to the side, and then I'm going to grab my plate and we'll plate that up. Plate that up. Ladle in here. Got a final stir. Sorry, just stirring this gravy one last time so it doesn't get a crust on the bottom. Set my whisk off and we'll plate this up. Grab a plate. Turn that around to there. Throw our pork chop on there. A juicy pork chop. And I'll get some potatoes on that. And let me just move this I'm going to take this out for just a second. Oh yeah, steaming hot mashed potatoes. super creamy. And just move my peas out and get some I don't like how that's going. You dirty up some more stuff. Set that down. I'm just gonna have to go with this. I'm gonna have to do it this way. My wood spoons are not doing the job that I need to do from that angle. So we'll get there. Throw a pat of butter on those potatoes. You want any gravy?
Yeah.
Okay. Or throw a pat of butter on the peas, I mean.
Oh, on the peas.
Yeah, if that's what do you want it like that, or are you good? Okay, 'cause I'm gonna let my daughter Ming test this out for me. Let's see what she thinks. Yeah, just throw a little butter on there. There we go. A pot of butter, and we'll get some gravy on there. And that gravy, I like the consistency of the gravy. It's not too thick and not too thin. And there we go. And there we are, right there. There's our pork roast, our peas, mashed potatoes and gravy. Very traditional home cooked meal. One that everybody will like. And there we go. That's it. It was a little bit longer than we thought, but oh, there's White Mountain Girl. Hey, thanks for showing up, sweetie. Appreciate it. Yeah, but yeah, everything looks pretty good. William Hurt, there is a plate here if you want it. There's always this is an Irish house. There's always room for one more. That's for sure. But I'm gonna let her grab hers. I'm gonna let Gracie get hers. There you go, Mingo. Don't be afraid to share with the dog, because the dog will definitely like it. I'm gonna get a little plate for myself because it looks really good, and I'm gonna have some for me. Let's do the second plate. Oh yeah, there you go. You're welcome. And I'll grab my piece. The dog is wanting her piece, which that'll come shortly. Don't you worry, Beagle. We didn't forget about you. Let me grab my potatoes. And I'm gonna get a big softened buttery, where I had that butter sitting on it. The potatoes came out really good and creamy. I should have put a little center spot in Ming's. There's that, and then we'll do my peas. Hard to serve when you're trying to work around a camera. There we go. And these are awfully buttery already. So I'm just gonna go that route. That's gonna be enough for me. That's about all the vegetation I need. And then we'll gravy this up. There we go. And there's that. And there's mine. So there we go. Definitely one of those things. Yeah, definitely one of those, man. That's a great Thursday night dinner. Something that you know most of the family will like, and good to go. I think we overran into Luis's time if he's actually doing a show tonight. I don't know if he is or isn't, but that's pretty much our show. Let me see. Always boil for a minute to bring out the full thickness. Yeah, it was definitely simmering. It was definitely simmering, that's for sure. Let's see. Starter seasoning, beeswax shortening, grapeseed oil mix. Yeah, there's a lot of people. I try to stay away from shortening, just because of the soy that's in it. But that's just me. That's just where I'm at. I mean, everybody has their preferences. Everybody has what they like. You know, a lot of times people, you know, they just love doing lard. And lard's great. Bacon grease is great. There's so many things that are out there that season just the way you know. It's all kind of a personal preference. But yeah, hey, I appreciate everybody showing up. I hope somebody can use some of these recipes. I know the pork recipe isn't really that great because it took longer than it did. But generally, I do 450 for 25 minutes, and then uncovered for another 25 to 30 minutes, and that generally takes that up there. I don't know what the deal was with this tonight. I don't know if it was the added trivet that I put in there. That could be. But I definitely appreciate everybody putting likes. I mean, it's very rare that you get 100% likes for the amount of viewers that you have. That's just amazing, and I really appreciate everybody showing up to my kitchen and cooking dinner with me tonight. That's just fantastic. It's a great way to spend my Thursday nights, and I'm so glad that everybody showed up. Everybody that did show up, that's just fantastic. I you don't know how much I appreciate it, and it's fun to have my friends over while I'm cooking, and that's what everybody even though we don't get to see each other or anything, we do this all through the interwebs. It's nice that we've all known each other for so long, and it's just great to spend an evening with you guys that's not on Tuesdays or Wednesdays, or sometimes on Thursday night. So if I do any, just watch for some notifications. That's going to be the holiday, so I'm going to be a little more intermittent with the live. I don't know exactly if I'm going to be able to do one next Thursday, but I might do one maybe this weekend and one through the week. And I've got a couple shorts coming out too, so watch for those and check those out later. But yeah, thanks again for being here, and I'm going to go eat my dinner, and we'll see you in the comment sections. All right, see ya.